For our next session, I'm pleased to welcome Hind Al-Huwaidi, Director of Education in BIA, to speak on the topic, Reimagining the Role of Education on Sustainability. With the moderator, Riad Bestani, environment expert, founder, and GM ECOsquare. Thank you.
It's working?
Thank you. Your mask?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good afternoon, good morning still, I think, to everyone. I'm very pleased to be here because it's, the two topics that are mentioned on the board here is education and sustainability are two topics which are very close to my heart. I've launched this company last year after so many years in the industry, so it's something that I was willing to go into. So I'm thinking it's going to be a very interesting session today. So with me is Hind Al-Huwaidi. She has joined BI in 2011, which I know very well because it was one of my old customers in my previous company, so well-known company, I guess, for everyone here. She leads the BI Sustainability Environment Education Training and Development programs within BR through BR School of Environment, which is a program that reaches around 250,000 students, 700 schools in UAE, which is an impressive initiative. She's also in charge of the strategy for BI Institute of Environmental Management and Sustainability Academy, which provides trainings and programs related to sustainability environmental fields. She also leads the Happiness Committee, very interesting also. She's a graduate of a bachelor's degree in science in environmental health from University of Sharjah in UAE. And she also holds, from 2017, a Sharjah Leadership Program degree. So thank you, Hind, for being here.
My pleasure.
So let's jump into because I mentioned the School of Environment. So I think it would be interesting to hear from you what is exactly the school, what is the how the initiative came, what was the motivation behind, and what does it really bring to the youth education, especially in the global education ecosystem we have here in UAE. So there's many things happening in schools, but what is the added value from this school?
To explain more about the BIA School of Environment, BIA was established in 2007 with the aim to pioneer sustainable quality of life. So since the beginning, we realized that environmental education is something that's very important. And in 2010, that's when we launched our program, which is known as the BIA School of Environment program. It's a very interactive program that we launched across the schools in the UAE. Our home base is in Sharjah, so that's where we started initially with just Sharjah schools. And then we started seeing the demands from other Emirates wanting to be part of that program. So we started expanding it bit by bit. Now that we have a reach of over 700 schools across the UAE, it's done through interactive learning, skill advancement. We focus on having environmental competitions that increase innovation and creativity within the youth because we believe that is very important and that's where they shine when you try to include them in practical knowledge because we don't want it just to be something that's very classroom based, I would say. We have to include very practical knowledge because maybe sometimes that's where you see the missing gap in people wanting to actually practice what they're learning. It's a program that has reached, as you mentioned, over 250,000 students. We have over 6,500 teachers that are part of the program. It's been running successfully for the past 11 years. We're continuing with the program, including new methodology, new ways of learning as part of, let's say, interactive games that are included as part of the program, which all ultimately lead to pioneer sustainable quality of life and to increase the level of awareness within the youth committee because that's where it's very important for us to start.
Yeah, impressive, really activities and initiative from the school. Huh? So tell us more about how this program is helping, bring those students and who are learning, as you said, on the practical and theoretical side, the future generation, the generation of the leaders of sustainability for tomorrow.
So if we speak specifically maybe about one of the competitions that we launched as part of the program, which is known as the Environmental Excellence School Award, which was also launched in 2010 at the beginning of the program. It was very important for us, as I mentioned, to include the practical knowledge, and that's where it was, because we believe that the role of the youth is very important, and as part of the competition, we're enabling the youth to take part in a competition on an individual basis. So you would have your different categories that they would take part in as part of an outstanding individual achievement, and that's where their work started, shining through different, applications that they launched. You wouldn't believe the amount of projects that we have received from developing mobile applications. I mean, we never take for granted the capabilities of our youth. They launched and they developed their own mobile applications from scratch. They've been involved in a lot of coding when it comes to a lot of these, technology that they try to tackle, because every year we try to introduce an environmental challenge. And the role of these students is basically to find the solutions for the different challenges that we are facing nowadays when it comes to environmental preservation and protection. So just to name maybe a few of the programs or the applications that they worked on. So, as I said, it involves a lot of coding, a lot of projects that would focus on, saving the water, saving the air, quality of the air. So a lot of innovation and creativity when it comes to the youth. The possibilities are endless. We start as young as 4 years old. Imagine that. So we have categories starting from KG going up until grade 12. That's the reach of the program. So you wouldn't believe, the capabilities of the youth. We start very young, and it's always important for us also to stress on the roles of the kids. When we launch these competitions, we launch them also for someone who's 4 years old, and we do have an interaction with them. We ask them, what did you achieve? What did you work on? And the kids are the ones who are actually working on their projects. It's not the teacher, it's not the parents, it's the kids themselves. So we start from a very young age, going up until grade 12.
It must be a real challenge to teach something to a 4-year-old kid, and which bring him, to sustainability topics, and must be kind of quite challenging and very, very impressive. We've talked, I think, in the previous session about, the UAE is a leading country in the region. They've planned for the 50 years, strategy and vision. How do you see, now that we know that we have creative people here, building something strong on sustainability, how do you see the challenges of going to this next 50 years, which is, the people around this room here are probably going to be the leaders of tomorrow. What are the challenges they're going to face, and how they're going to overcome those challenges?
When it comes to the UAE's vision for the next 50 years, as part of our strategy when it comes to BIA, is focusing on two key pillars, which are sustainability and digitalization. So when you think about it, they go hand in hand. When it comes to sustainability, BIA has been known to be a pioneer on that aspect, because it has a very well-known presence and name for itself when it comes to the sustainability side. When it comes to digitalization, it was very important for us as well to include a lot of digital innovations, because you can't say you're fully sustainable if your processes are not digital at the same time. That's why, over the past few years, BIA also developed a digitalization approach, and we try to include that a lot with the programs that we also launched within the school communities. So it's very important for us to empower the youth, because believe it or not, maybe in the past, maybe with some, let's say, life skills, that's when the parents are the ones who are conveying the knowledge to the kids. But when it comes to environmental education, it's the other way around. And what we notice is that the kids or the youth are the ones who are teaching their parents the correct or the proper environmental, sustainability practices. So it's something very important. The youth started with this already, and we know that they will be continuing with this over the next 50 years and the years to come.
I can only agree with this, because my son is 15 years old and is teaching me everything about all those tricks in digital world, which I'm completely lost. I'm from the pre-millennium era, I would say. So definitely a challenge for us, but very, very interesting. Let's finish maybe with a global question about the outcome of this environmental education system among the youth. What are those main key outcomes from the whole education system, which is helping drive the sustainability in UAE?
What we also started noticing through the programs that we have been launching is that a lot of these youth are starting to pursue purpose-driven careers. You don't want to just go within your traditional majors anymore, and this is where you see the shift that's happening. People want to focus on the environment and on sustainability because they know that this is what's important right now. Maybe a few years back, it wasn't that relevant for them. People would try to go maybe with the traditional route of just studying your, normal majors that you have, but then you have to challenge that. You have to see where is the future and to go within that path. That's where the future leaders are born, and the environmental ambassadors, through the programs that we are launching, that's where we notice the ambassadors, the students would continue evolving and working on their own initiatives. So they're not just waiting for us to tell them, okay, we launched this, work on this. They're doing it on their own and then sharing with us the outcomes of their work. And this is the ultimate goal at the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. The seeds of this new world, especially after COVID, which has been shaking everybody, is there for the young generation, and they're trying to, have some purpose of what they're doing and how they're doing. Which company, as was mentioned before, you want to go with a company who's more sustainable because, at the end, it's going to be impacting your world you live in. So definitely a great... let's finish maybe with a last thought, maybe a message to send to the young generation today in UAE. Is there anything that you feel is important for them to, to think about for the next challenges also, but also opportunities in terms of global education on sustainability? Any specific message you would like to send to?
I would just say challenge yourself and try to think, outside the box when it comes to sustainability. Try to pursue maybe a career when it comes to the sustainability side. Challenge your organization. If it wasn't an organization that was even focused on sustainability, try to challenge them to focus on that aspect as well. What's interesting right now, even though if it's not specifically a company that's focused on, let's say, sustainability or environmental management, a lot of them would have an environmental section within their organizations. If they didn't have, I would encourage you to start establishing that, because it is very important, whether you're just a business-oriented company, let's say, to have that within your organization. So try to challenge that, and that's where the future lies.
Thank you so much, Hind, for this interesting session. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, everyone.